Hello everyone, it's so great to be talking to you about maths, especially targeted at year 11s, but certainly very useful information for year 10 students and your parents as well. It's a warm welcome to you, and I refer to our department not just as a maths department, but as maths for all department. And I mean maths for all in the sense that every student who walks through our hands needs to have a maths qualification by the end of the 5 years. And you will see what I mean at the end of the presentation, how we link it in to our maths for all agenda for post-16 as well. So we have the core GCSE maths, which every student will sit the GCSE exams in summer. But we also have for our most able students GCSE further mathematics. And then of course for the students who perhaps maths is not their strongest area, we have an additional qualification which is functional maths qualification using the Edexcel board. So we provide for every student irrespective of their ability and their level of engagement with the subject. So as I mentioned, everyone will sit the GCSE mathematics, but the GCSE further mathematics, which we use the AQA board for, is for only a selected group of students who are potentially going to be doing A-level maths and or A-level further maths at A level. And so that is additional provision that we have, and we have sessions or lessons for them after school, and that happens once a week. Some students, of course, will be sitting the functional maths, and that is more hands-on mathematics, real mathematics in real life, and this gives them an additional qualification, whether a pass or a fail, that in addition to their core GCSE qualification. So what is involved in the GCSE mathematics? Well, there are two tiers of entry. The higher tier entry whereby students can achieve grade 4 to 9, but the foundation tier students can achieve from grade 1 to 5. These numbers replace the letters that we used to know, A star to G. There are no coursework, there are no class assessments as far as GCSE maths is concerned. It is all 100% examination, which will be sat in the hall in summer. As a school, we use the Edexcel exam board. So if any parent wants to buy resources for or supplementary textbooks for students, their children, then I suggest that you buy ones that are made for Edexcel board. So the students will be sitting 3 papers. Each paper is equally weighted, 80 marks, and will last for an hour and 30 minutes unless the student has got extra time. The first paper is a non-calculator paper, and it will test across the whole curriculum. The second and the third papers are all calculator papers. So since 2017, there has been a new specification, and that new specification comes with it a real challenge for our students, for our teachers, and of course for parents as well, because the content and the volume as well as the level of difficulty of this new specification is far higher than the old specification. Of course, too, we used to use letters for grading, and now for the new specification, we use letters for the grading. Also, the content of the new specification is a lot based on problem solving and reasoning mathematically and communicating mathematically, and this has been a real challenge for our students, and at times even for us as teachers as well, to really help students to be able to communicate and articulate themselves mathematically. So there are 3 papers, as I mentioned, as compared to 2 papers that used to be in the old specification, and also the exams last longer, 90 minutes for each paper. Again, another challenge has been that students are required to memorize some formulas. So unlike the old specification whereby they were given a formula booklet, this time round formula booklets are not given. So students from year 7 need to get used to memorizing and having at the back of their minds some of the formulas they will be using in the GCSE exam. The obvious question then is, how are teachers meeting the challenge of delivering this new specification, which involves a lot more content, but of course too a lot more difficulty? Well, we the maths teachers at the John Rowan are doing everything we can to meet this challenge. And the major thing that we are doing is through first quality classroom practice, first quality teaching, to make sure and ensure that every student before they leave our classroom understands and can articulate and express themselves using the mathematical concepts that they would have learned in every lesson. Also, year 10 and year 11 especially, we expose them to a lot of exam questions. And we do this by means of every lesson in year 11 especially has to end with an exam question based on the topic that they would have considered in that lesson. We are also doing a lot of targeted intervention, and the major and the most effective one that we have found is the one that happens in the classroom, because the classroom teachers know their students best, and so the intervention in the classroom is what we are really doing. But of course too, we are doing after school sessions, we have excellence hour, and we have other intervention strategies that we are inviting students into, but some only at a time. We have regular low stakes testing, and this is to ensure that some key skills are really embedded, and we help students to retrieve them weekly, monthly, and half termly, so that we don't leave things just because we have covered them, but we keep going back to these things to help them to retrieve them from their short-term memory. And another key tool that we have is our Haggerty Maths platform. It is great platform for independent study. It is a great platform that we use for homework. And so it is really important that our students and our parents too engage very well with this platform, because it leads to success in GCSE. So we as the classroom practitioners, we are doing our bit to meet the challenge of this new specification. What do we expect of our children, of our students to do to meet the challenge of this new specification? Well, we expect just three things: practice, practice, and practice. And the first practice is through Haggerty Maths, engaging with that platform for their homework, engaging with that platform for independent study. The second practice is through classwork. Yes, we understand that maths can be challenging at times, but putting head down on the desk because you don't understand does not make it any easier. So we want to encourage our students to engage with the subject, to do their best in every lesson that they go into, and not to think that, oh, I know the answer, do I need to write it? Well, yes, maths is only through practice that we get better. And so that is what we encourage our students to do, to meet the challenge. But of course, too, to answer exam questions. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. To answer as many exam questions as possible on Haggerty Maths, but also a fantastic platform that we recommend is mathsgenie.co.uk. It's a great platform for exam questions as well as past papers. So we've mentioned what teachers are doing in the classrooms to mitigate the challenge that the new specification poses. We've mentioned what students need to do by practicing. What can parents do to support their children to achieve their best, irrespective of the challenge posed by this new specification? Well, that takes me back to what Professor Desfox said in 2013 in his report. What parents do with their children at home through the age range, that from year 7 all the way to 13, is much more significant than any other factor open to educational influence. So yes, as teachers, as classroom practitioners, we do accept, we do acknowledge, and we do appreciate the support that our parents give our students at home. It is really important for any student to achieve and attain their highest potential to be supported by their parents at home. In fact, grades and outcomes in all schools across the country do come about because parents are supportive. And so please, parents, that is what we expect, and that is what we know you've always been giving us, but especially so in year 10 and in year 11, where we push to cross that line. The finish line is very close, but we will get there, and successfully, and together we will. But of course, we expect parents to help, but some parents might wonder, well, what do I need to do? Because maybe the maths is not your stronghold anywhere. So how can, as parents, how can we support our children at home? Well, we don't ask too much. Just please encourage your child to practice, practice, and practice using Hegeti maps, using other exam past paper websites like Maths Genius I mentioned. But by all means, please encourage your child to practice. It is the only way that they can secure their understanding to get ready for their GCSE. Homework is really important. We set all our homework on Hegeti. The student needs to write it down, work it out in their books, and type their answers online and get instant feedback. Please, weekly. We set our homework for year 11s, for example, we set our homework on Mondays. Please remind your child, encourage them. Have you done your homework? What was your percentage? They need to score 80% plus, by the way, to not have a detention. How did you try? Did you watch the videos? This is the conversation that we expect of parents to support at home. Because one, not only will it get their child the detention, but most importantly, it will be helping them to secure their understanding for later, for the real thing in summer. Encourage them to use the websites as we've mentioned, and these are listed in the information pack that I'm sure you must have been given it as well. Please support your children in that way. And this is really close to my heart as a head of department. Students who don't have scientific calculators, we may give them one on the day of the exam, but from experience, those calculators are not useful in that exam hall because the student has not gotten their hands used to where the buttons are and the various functions are. So the earlier they have a calculator for themselves, that they master the use of it in lessons and at home, the better it is, and it prepares them then to use that calculator effectively and definitely efficiently in the exam hall. We say the same thing about geometry set. They need to get used to these things. So if your child hasn't got one or has lost their calculator or geometry set, please invest in one, because the investment is certainly worthwhile when the student sits in the exam hall with confidence, knowing how to use this equipment. It's really, really important. The last one is, some students will say, well, when it gets to the real exam, I will practice. Well, that never happens. The real exam can come and you wouldn't be ready. So please support your children. Cramming does not work for maths. Practice works for maths. That is the only way they can do it. So a typical example, they've got a pre-mock exam coming up next week on the 4th of October. They've been given a checklist 3 weeks ago. Have they revised? Have they watched those clips? Well, I know from my end that I can see so many students are engaging very well with those topics that I've given them. So has your child done them? Well, if not, we've got 1 week. But waiting for last minute weekend wouldn't work. Practice is the only way that makes maths become enjoyable and leads to success as well. From time to time we get this question, but my child should not be doing foundation but should be doing higher, or my child should be doing foundation but not higher. Well, what determines which tier of entry we put a student in for? The student's own performance is what number one key thing. So the pre-mocks that we are doing, for example, is going to help us to make judgments and make decisions as to which tier of entry will be appropriate for that student in the real mock come November, end of November. So it is important that the student engages well early enough so that they don't underperform now for us to put them in for foundation and then expect that if we did put them in for higher, they would have performed better. It wouldn't work. So it is important that they engage right away. Another thing that we use is how they do in their low stakes assessments. We accumulate all of them and see whether they can handle the higher paper, because as I mentioned, the whole specification is challenging, but I can assure you that the higher entry or tier of entry is even more so challenging. Also, classwork, homework, and independent study that we see in their books and online on Hegeti. These all feed into our decision to do the higher or foundation tier of entry. Of course, I do have discussions with the class teacher, especially about has this student got the resilience, the confidence, the determination to sit a higher paper. Because a higher paper can really be tough from the word go. From question one, it can start from there. And if a child hasn't got resilience, in a nice, burning, sunny, hot summer day in the big hall of 200 students, it can be very demotivating. So we need to measure the confidence level of each student as well when we are doing the tier of entry. So if any parent has any issues with regard to tier of entry for their child, please contact me and we'll be able to talk this over. But by all means, I would assure you that my professional judgment will be one that will be best for your child, and every individual student will be different from the other. I did say that we are not a maths department. We are a maths for all department. And we make a special promise to all our students and all parents that we provide qualification for each and every individual student, irrespective of their ability, their engagement, and their level of confidence in the subject. So from GCSE maths, GCSE further maths, and functional skills, maths qualification, we lead it on into our post-16 provision as well. We provide A-level maths, which a lot of students across the country do, but we provide A-level further maths as well. For those possibly same students who did GCSE further maths, we want to challenge them even more. So, and then we have this year introduced what we call core maths, and it's just like a top-up of the functional maths. It is real-life mathematics that gives you a level 3 qualification that so many universities are now looking for because you get 20 UCAS points. So as you can see, there is a thread there. From GCSE, we provide for everyone, irrespective of their ability. But for A levels, we provide for everyone as well, irrespective of their ability. We are taking care of everybody. And this is a promise from our department, the Maths for All department. I am sure I have said so much within the short time frame that I've had. So you may have some questions about how you can support your child or tier of entry or anything else related to maths. Please feel free to send me an email and I'll give you a call if you want me to, and we can discuss how you can help to support your child to engage as well as possible with this important subject. And by all means, please feel free to contact your child's class teacher as well, who will be equally in position to answer all questions that you may have. Thank you very much for working with us to help your child to achieve their best ever maths grade they could ever have. Thank you and thank you.